Hello and welcome to another episode of the Backdoor Cup podcast. We are back again, but we are guestless, unfortunately. So it's just a conversation with the three of us. But we had a lot to catch up on. We talked about all of the games at the weekend. We talked about Sam Maguire. We talked about Tailteann Cup. We talked about Dara returning to play, which is awesome. And we talked about unfortunate circumstances for Owen in that he misses the rest of the season. So hopefully you enjoy it. And now onto the podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Backdoor Cut podcast. We have taken a break. We've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks and I don't mind saying why. It is because we've been let down by a couple of guests, which is no fault on them really, but it's just a symptom of the format and something that we're trying to challenge and change. So it's always going to be challenging is getting guests on throughout the inter-county season. Some guests are comfortable saying that they will come on, but then post-loss or post-poor performance, they're not as comfortable coming on. And they say they're not comfortable talking to the media and they've been told not to talk to the media. I wouldn't say that we are the media, to be honest. But nonetheless, they want to keep things internal, which is their prerogative. It is frustrating for us, though, because we've obviously scheduled in studio time, done a bit of prep, and we're looking forward to the conversations. And it's something we're trying to challenge and change. We're not going to change it by ourselves, but we're giving it a go. So how's it been, lads? It's been frustrating, hasn't it?
Yeah, listen, it's, you know what, when you're in the inside and you see how teams are, like, you can get caught up in that wee bubble, but when you take a minute and you take a step back and you actually think about it, like, it's a bit mad, to be honest. Like, yeah, we're definitely not in the media. Like, we're not going and spreading anything. And I think you said it in one of our first podcasts, it's like, what does the teams in the country doing anything different? And, you know, yes, there's levels to it, and there's going to be better teams operating at a higher level, but by and large, everyone's on the same sort of journey. Like, but even at that, like, you're not going to give away. You come on a podcast, you're not going to reveal all and let in secrets or who doesn't like who or who's in or who's out there, what happened the other night. But I think that's the thing. It's just generally having a conversation, and you want to get to know players that you're watching on TV, that you're playing against, or you seem like interesting characters. Like, so yeah, it's a bit annoying. Like, yeah,
I'd be of the same opinion. I suppose when you look at other sports and you see what they're doing at a professional level, you can see, you know, there is quite a lot of media. Players do speak, and I think there's just a bit of a culture in the GA that anytime you speak, there's an opportunity that you could give away something that within the camp. But realistically, like, there's no real secrets. Maybe, you know, small things going on in training, but who's going to come onto a podcast and actually start talking about that side of things? Like, nobody. So it's simply a conversation to see maybe what's going on in players' lives, you know, lifestyle kind of things, how they, I suppose, act in terms of their own style of training outside of the team setting as well, and get insights into their personality is probably the main thing that we're trying to do here. And again, me and one or two players ourselves, like, so we're on here every week and nothing's came of it. Nothing's, you know, negatively came of the back of it, and to be honest, it's only been really positive in terms of what we've got out of it and what I suppose any player that has been on, nothing that we've heard anyways has came off the back of it. So yeah, I think there's just that fear with players, and it's probably unnecessary. But again, probably teams, me and Owen probably can't really speak of the mindset of teams at the top level.
So is there a bit of embarrassment, do you reckon, when you have lost? And is it kind of a knee-jerk reaction?
I think there would be, like, I think it's
like, we've been unfortunate just for the guests.
Yeah. But even Paddy
have had poor results on that weekend.
I'm sure Paddy was sitting. He came in the day after his home game. I'm sure he was sitting going. He actually said yes.
You didn't think you showed up?
He said yes. He goes, this man's going to be on the beer. He's not going to want to show up. We were texting that morning, like, is he still in? Is he still in? You're like, I give you a thumbs up, so he must be good. But so fair play to him for coming in. Like, I'm sure he was sitting. He actually said this as well. He was like, I was considering just pulling out. Like, but I was like, but I'll go for it. So fair play to him for that. Like, but you're going to lose games. Like, what's...
Yeah, more teams lose than win.
Fuck, tell me about it.
and the Dublin lads don't want to talk to us anyway. So,
yeah.
But that's just the way it is. We're challenging it. We're trying to change something for the better, and we're trying to get more eyes on the sport, get more attendances at games as well, and create more of a story or a storyline around games, which is going to get people to buy in and actually show an interest. Because it just feels like at the weekend there were so many games, and there are so many games now, that Saturday had 4 games. It kind of came and went. There wasn't much hype. There wasn't much of an afterthought either. It doesn't even feel like there was Sam Maguire All-Ireland Championship football last weekend.
There's just a bit of a gap between supporters and players. Like, they literally don't have a clue what that person is actually like. They just are judging them based off what they see in the pitch. And even you see after the Donegal game, like the amount of fans and kids running onto the pitch just trying to get any sort of interaction with the players, and they're running off the pitch, and it's like, you know, there has to be a balance here and a happy medium, like, between knowing what players are actually like. Because as you say, the more you know a player and their personality, the more inclined you're going to be to actually support them and follow them.
And not abuse them as well.
Yeah, and not abuse them, because you know, even though they may be a on the pitch, they're actually sound off the pitch. So, and that's something we've seen in loads of episodes in other podcasts over the last couple of years, is like, your perception of someone was don't like them.
Yeah.
As soon as they come on and sit down and speak, like, no one really is a all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, some people just have to. Apart from me, yeah.
But we're also trying to bridge a gap in terms of tactical knowledge and new as well, because it seems that, and we have chatted off air about it, a lot of media work now is going down the direction of like polarizing content and like clickbait, whereas we're actually trying to appreciate that fans are intelligent and want to try to understand the tactics of the game, because at the moment there is a disconnect between what the teams are actually employing on the field and what they're doing and the fans' understanding of Gaelic football. As a result, fans are leaving football matches and saying, well, that was a waste of time watching that. That was useless. I didn't see anything. I didn't enjoy watching it. Whereas when we had Paddy on, when we had Shawnee on, when we got really into the details, that's when we got the best feedback. It was like, you're talking about stuff and going into more detail than other shows potentially are, because those other shows aren't about that, and that's what we want to be about, I suppose.
100%. I think that's where all the talk is. Football's gone to the dogs, so all these rule changes, and it's always complaint football's boring. But it's like, when we're on the inside of it, it doesn't. I remember you saying a while back, like, maybe on your podcast actually, you were saying about like if you won a game by, you didn't care that it was so defensive because you were just getting over the line, and you were in that game, you might have won by 2 points and it might have been fucking 9-8 or something. You were like, we're just getting over the line, we just won, like we couldn't care less if we had 15 behind the ball. And yes, maybe that's, people probably hear that and go, oh jeez, that's a nightmare, like. But when you're on the inside of it and you're trying to win a game and you're doing the, like, when you're maybe probably a weaker team going up against a better team, you have to do whatever you can to get over that. So there's so much that goes into that, and there's so much in terms of setups and position. Like, when you actually start to understand it and you start to see what's happening, you're like, oh, right, this makes sense. And then you can see patterns happening, and then even as players you can take bits and pieces and saying, right, these ones are Division 1, Division 2, what are they doing differently to us, or what are they doing that's the same and we can do a wee bit better. Like, so I think it's when you understand something a bit more and you see the reasoning behind it, it makes it a bit more exciting and a bit more interesting. And
I think as well, just to touch on what you just said, 15 behind the ball doesn't have to be boring as well, because the most exciting aspect of the game at the moment, I think, and it's a part of the tactics as well as the part of the physical preparedness of the players, is when there is a turnover and the transition break.
Con's goal at the weekend.
Yeah, like that's the most exciting part of the game.
Yeah.
And you can only do that if you retreat behind the ball.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're playing defensive. It means you're reducing scoring opportunities for the opposition and focusing on the counter-attack.
That's the thing as well. The team that are in possession too are committing nearly 14, 15 men forward as well. So it does leave that big gap. So it's like, it's not as if, right, there's 10 men up the pitch, 5 men are sitting back, and then it's 10 on 15. It's like, it's near enough everyone, near enough man to man inside one half of the pitch. And like, the only way that you can break that down, some of the scores you've seen at the weekend there across the games, like long range kicking was unreal, but then also some of the fast play through the hands, making different runs. Like, see when you see a play and there's 5, 6, 7, 8 different runs being made and it's just zigzags everywhere, and you're watching it just going, what's going on here? Like, it's class to watch too. Like,
I think it's really starting to get a lot better to watch now, I think. Like, even watching Donegal at the weekend, like, how many times in the second half did they go long and kickouts and pick out a man? And then, like, obviously the opposition team are doing a lot of work and trying to press kickouts and put nearly. Obviously, you're seeing the keeper coming up a lot, so we're seeing a lot more now of teams going over the top of that. We're seeing teams, as you say, like everyone's attacking with 15. So if you have pace in your team, the counter attack is on every single time. And like that break in the Dublin Roscommon game was frightening. Like I'd say,
was it 5? 6? I think it was 6-on-5 at one stage.
I would like to see the top speeds in that move be high nines, like.
And that's what 10, 20 metres are probably covered there too, like literally from full back lane to full forward lane.
But it's a mentality as well. And it's mentality being drilled into them that you can see when we have the ball, go. And they don't even look at the ball. It's just like, go.
But a lot of teams are, like, that'll go on a lot of setups where it's like, when we turn it over, we have pace, let's go. 100 mile an hour. You can see a load of teams trying to implement that, but do you have the players that are actually fast enough to be able to literally burn the opposition team when you're on the counter attack?
I think a big bit of it as well is the actual execution of it too. Like the clear thinking and the calmness. Like, how many times do you probably say it? Like, we say it all the time. It's like, right, everyone's going at pace and it's 100 mile an hour, but it's frantic. And it's like, because everything's so fast, it's almost rushed. And then that last hand pass goes to the feet or something, and then the whole thing breaks down, and then it's back up the pitch again. Whereas that's so crisp, that's so like.
Dublin seem to always get the pass right every time.
Yeah.
Like, it's. Some of them might take a solo, some of them might not, but it's nearly as if they've went through it that many times in training or in other games. They just know. And even, I think Brian Fenton really made that goal in terms of the ball got to him, and you typically see anyone get the ball in that area and kind of panic and just shimmy and maybe kick it over the bar, but he literally just calmed down within the 13-metre line and picked the pass between two players, and it was goal. Like,
the thing with Dublin as well is every single one of them off when they don't get the ball, because every single runner wants the ball and is running with intent that they're going to be the one to score.
You saw the reaction of a couple of players when the ball wasn't played, like, and you could see they're having to go at each other, like, on the arms going, and it's just it's ruthless. Like, I think there was 2 or 3 times where they made a break, popped it over from maybe the 13 or the 21, but there was maybe a hand pass on, and they were fuming, like. But
like 90% of the time they are unselfish. Like, they will just keep giving it until 1v1 opens up or pass across the net for a top in. Like, there's no one's thinking, I'm going to get my own score here.
The paradox of making those runs as well.
That's why you up top from all our stuck down there.
When you're making those runs though, maybe on the counties that don't have the same level of success or don't have the same level of aggressive intent, players think almost, or it looks like they think, okay, I need to make a run here to pull this lad out of this space and to create a little bit of space. Whereas the only way you pull your man out of space is to actually have intent to get the ball. Yeah. And every single player for all of those teams that are going to be challenging for the All-Ireland, they have that intent with every single run. And it's, as we said, it's drilled into them. And it's exciting to watch when you do that. And it leads you to not have to all gather around the 45-yard line, recycling it side to side, because in order to take players out of position, you have to run at pace through the line. What I wanted to touch on is, in terms of a foil to that quick transition, there are 2, probably maybe multiple more perspectives you could take to try to stop it. Do you, with Dublin, attempt to press the ball immediately to try to win it back within 3 to 5 seconds? Or do you think that the defence should just focus on trying to get back earlier than they get forward?
I think it has to be slowed because of how good they are when they build up their pace. But if you overcommit and you're jumping in and diving in back there, and they get a couple of quick passes and then they're beyond their own 45, then it's a foot race back. Like, so I think it kind of depends on where it is. If there's maybe a cue, or if there's a signal, or maybe whoever has the ball has their back to the play, maybe, then that's a cue to, like, right, get on top of them. Can we get contact? Can we get it stopped? But I think if they're allowed to run and they're allowed to build, that's when they're most dangerous. But I think initially the stop, that it has to be slowed down if you can quickly, like, and get contact on or try and get the ball back early.
It's being aware of where you are on the pitch. Like, the closest man to the ball has to make some attempt to press the ball. If it's gone past you, anyone who's not in the vicinity of the ball, it's an all-out sprint to try and get back behind the ball and cover that space. But again, if a team's moving it through the hands so quickly, it's every player needs to be aware of where they are. Where's the ball? Has the ball being transferred close to me? Can I put on pressure? It's not easy to do when it's Dublin you're trying to stop, because they're so good at probably avoiding that contact.
But it looked like Loud just said, let them have it.
Yeah.
And just everybody just absolutely burst your get back here and just set up. And they had some joy. But what I struggle to see is a team beating Dublin by doing that.
Yeah. But that's what they've been talking about for years, is you go 15 behind the ball every time against Dublin, and they're just so good now at breaking that down. They've done it for years, that they'll beat you that way. If you go man to man and try and press up on them, they'll absolutely hammer you that way. So I still think Louth went about it the right way. Like, that worked for 45, 50 minutes, and they did try and like slightly change things then to try and go a wee bit more aggressive. And I suppose it's only a 10-minute period then, anything could really happen. It just didn't work out for them in the end, and it was an unforced error that led to the goal. So now they're probably thinking, if we played them again, we'd go exactly the same.
Probably, and they still got, I know the goal was at the end as almost a consolation, but they were in a few scores of beating them. The trouble is, against Dublin, it seems to be a 10-minute period every single game.
Yeah.
But do you think they have a call, like, or they just know when, all right, we have momentum now, let's just keep going and absolutely bury these?
I think it is just like relentless energy, and they just know that they're sticking to the game plan for as long as possible, and they've been there for long enough and experienced it long enough that it's just like, we just keep going, and eventually it's going to click for them. Like,
that momentum, they all just notched up another level across the board.
Do you think it's that? Do you think it's they're just so used to that intensity that they can just keep going that intensity, or do you think there's an actual lift, or do you think it's other teams dropping off after a while?
I think it's a
bit
lift.
of an aura.
Both,
it's kind of scary. The other team's like, fuck, this is coming. Especially when the goal comes in, like, and they're all going up a level. I do think
You're waiting on it,
it lifts. Like, I do think it lifts with them, but it's hard to know.
Because Donegal employ a similar strategy in that we all know that they do it when the momentum is against them. They stall the game somehow and try and slow it down and then have another go. And they try and split the game up into almost 4 parts. So they have first quarter, then somebody pulls a hamstring, and then they have a second quarter, then they have half time. They've already, when they go in at the halftime break, they've already had a 2-minute period where they've talked about how they're going as backs, how they're going as forwards. So they have less to talk about at half time. They go back out, they're already ramped up, ready to go for that third quarter. And then all you have to do is finish it off for 15 minutes at the end with the lads that have come on. I know, easier said than done, but I think Dublin must have the exact same thing in that they just smell blood, is the term that the commentators would use, and then they just put the opposition to the sword immediately.
The subs is a big impact on that too. Like, they literally have Pascal on the bench, who nearly won Player of the Year last year. The player of the quality of Lorcan O'Dell doesn't even get on. Did he get on? I don't think he got on at the weekend.
He hasn't been playing much at all.
That's ridiculous. Bugler, come on. That man could get an all-star any year. You know,
he could get one this year, yeah.
Could get one this year. Like, it's just mental. James McCarthy didn't even play. It's just, I don't know how, like.
But to even touch on what you said about their kick passing and their passing being perfect every time, if you look at Conor O'Callaghan, it doesn't need to be a perfect pass to him, because if you kick it in his vicinity, he's winning it.
Yeah, especially him. He's just so strong.
And same with Fenton as well. Like.
Yeah, they're just athletically on a completely different level, which is, I think he's just a freak. Like,
it's just a Dublin player.
He hasn't. It's not as if he's went and done something completely out of the ordinary compared to everyone else in an intercounty setup. He's just, I don't know. He's just got qualities that are pretty mad.
I've seen him in club games as well, and look, in club games you can get away with a little bit more, and lads try to almost manhandle him a little bit and be a little bit more aggressive with him, but he's so strong as well. There's very little way of stopping him. Now, saying that, he has been sidelined a little bit or kind of taken out of the picture in some fixtures this year, but the trouble is 5 other lads just step up then when that happens. The Dublin pod, as you said.
That's it. We're just big Dublin fans now, are we?
But we were speaking before we started about Donegal, and we were saying, like, I have said it every single time so far that I can't see them losing the next game, and I'd still back it. I can't see them losing the game in the group now, to be honest. I'll die on my sword with that one potentially, but if they get into a quarter final then against one of the teams that have lost games, it'd be more likely that they're going to get into a semi-final. And every single week it seems like other pundits are saying, look, it looks like this time maybe might be just a little bit too much for them. It's going to be tight. And every single week they get over the line.
You'd be hoping they meet a Derry in a quarter final.
You're mad for Derry, man.
Yeah.
No, but it'd be good because then they'd have to beat Derry. They'd have to beat potentially Kerry and Donegal.
True.
You know, they'd have 3 big games. They'd have to win All Ireland. Where every other year it's been 2 games they've had to play to win one.
As in Dublin?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean
We're
in
on with
Donegal.
Oh, you're on with Donegal.
Donegal can't play themselves now.
Oh no, sorry, I'm not on with that. Mix up.
If Donegal play Derry again, like...
No, I wouldn't want that.
What's your perspective on Derry now? Because you are mad for
it's
Derry.
completely changed. I don't see them competing anymore for an All Ireland.
It's hard, isn't it, when you lose that many fixtures?
Even if they get them players back, they're going to be it's going to be off it. Like
Momentum, like, is
that level is.
there'd be question marks, I think, with some of them too, like, where, you know, they were on this so much momentum. But I was chatting with my dad about it, like, and if you think of Conor Glass, McFall, Ethan Doherty, like, they're only off the back of that All Ireland Club campaign, and they were straight back in for the first league game against Kerry.
2 All Ireland Club.
2 All Ireland Club campaigns
That's 2
straight
full
in.
years straight through.
And I thought you could nearly see it at times too. Like, I think they looked a bit fried, like, I thought. And going in that the Galway game, they seemed very flat as well. Like, there was glimpses of them kicking on, and you thought, right, comebacks on here. But I thought they looked very flat, like, and just didn't seem to be themselves. And they've probably been under, you know, you look at how many players that they've used in the last couple of years before Hart came in. What they were using, maybe 20, 21, 22 players. Like, now they've picked up a good load of injuries. Lads have been playing serious at the game time. Like, I think mentally a bit of fatigue there too, possibly.
And as you say, it's the players, those Glen players who are potentially a bit fatigued are the ones that are still fit and playing. Whereas it's the boys who should have been fresh and ready to make a big push, like Owen McAvoy, he was absolutely flying. Connor Dock, Niall Loughlin's injured. McKinless is gone for the next game. McGrogan, like, there's 5 starting players gone.
We were having the same conversation about Galway till very recently, though, as well.
They've
Brought them back.
They've come back and they've played 2 or 3 games now, and they've seemed to be.
Is there a possibility of Derry coming back into it, though? Or do you think at this stage of the year it's more crucial that you are coming up to your peak in the next couple of rounds?
I think the next game's going to be a big one, like, seeing how they get on there. But going from what I saw in that Galway game, I don't think they're in a burning place. Like, maybe that's good for them.
I think they can turn it.
I think they can turn it 100%, not ruling them out. But I was expecting more from them and a bigger lift after getting beat by Donegal.
Yeah,
I thought there was going to be more from them in that Galway game. Like,
I think they need to have Conor Doherty and Owen McAvoy back for at least the last group game, and McKinless will obviously back off the next game. And then Loughlin, I don't think his is too bad from what I know. But then I suppose if they get through the group there, they've them 3 or 4 players back. They've a wee bit of momentum then going into that prelim quarter final. Get a win there, and you have 2 or 3 games under the belt again, and suddenly you have a bit of momentum again. But again, I think them players have to be back.
You can have 1 or 2 results, and I can change the whole perspective on it.
But that's what I was going to ask you, Dara, was can you see Derry not losing another game?
No, I think they'll lose another game, but that doesn't. They're still going to go through.
Is that an issue with the format that you can lose 3 games into championship? And I don't think you're going to go on and win an All Ireland there, but you still have the potential to go and win one.
I don't think it's a fault of it, but I think if you've lost 3 games and you can turn it around and end up winning All Ireland, fair play to you. Like, I think that's so serious, like, battle to come back from it.
Well, like the back door.
Exactly, the back door, but I suppose we're losing that game there. Like,
but what do you think it should be then? Like top 2 in each group?
Yeah.
Just straight to quarter final?
Yeah, and split up the games a little bit more. But the only issue with that is, and I know the reason they have it this format, is you could have games in the last round of the group format that mean nothing.
Yeah, you can't have that.
No.
You can't have that. It's just not fair, really. Like.
No.
So.
What about straight knockout like it used to be?
Make it even shorter season.
We always end up talking about format on this show.
I know.
Well, every show, don't they?
Yeah.
Probably the problem with that was you were losing your Ulster Championship game, and then you're getting beaten your first qualifier game, and your summer was done.
Yeah, but that, like, we've been through this.
Yeah.
So what? Like, sorry, like, you lost both your games.
Yeah. Unlucky. Do better next time.
Yeah.
Get better. Just be better.
I don't know.
But now with the Tailteann Cup, like, it's not as much of an issue because the argument for that in the past was, oh, well, if you only play 2 games a year, sure, how are you going to get better? But if you go into a different competition, which teams are going into now, you're still going to be playing games.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I actually enjoy the Tailteann, like the way it's the format of it.
Yeah, well, I'd keep the Tailteann, to be honest. But what I'm saying is, potentially, if teams get knocked out of... Oh, so you wouldn't take any rejects from Sam?
Would you keep it as a... Would you keep it as a knockout? So the 2 tiers, but then straight knockouts, you would go... That's what it was like in the first year of Tailteann. So would you say, right, you get beat in your Division 3 or 4 teams, get beat right during the Tailteann, then the first game's a knockout game? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm suggesting, but the 2 year involved. So
that's
I'm
what it was
interested to hear your perspective.
That was the first year, and I think it was maybe because it was the first year of the Tailteann, it was sort of just like
trialing.
We were in a bad place getting that. Like, boys walked off the panel, boys were gone. We had maybe 12 at training one couple of times, like, just their commitments and stuff, and people just didn't take it serious. I think now that you have a bit of a run, you can get a good couple of games, and you've seen what's possible of it, like, and there's a good incentive there. I do like the way the Tailteann is, like. I think as well for when you look at maybe the Division 3 teams or the teams that are just getting promoted or looking to push on in Sam, like the likes of Westmeath, Down will be raising that they aren't in Sam as well. Fermanagh.
That's 2 years in a row now, we should.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're probably looking going, right, like, this is where you test yourself. Like, so if they're getting three games against 3 games against quality opposition, like, it's only going to develop you further, I think, like, and give you an expert. Even if you get beat by 8, 9, 10 points, you're still going, right, here's the benchmark, here's the standard where we need to get to, and that's the driving force then. So no, I like it at the minute, to be honest. I think for us criticising structures a lot, I'm happy enough. Like.
Okay, in summation, so we're back where we were. Keep it the way it is. But what I wanted to go on to off the back of that, I suppose, was, I know we touched on Dublin there and we're singing our praises at the start, but I think it is a little bit more wide open than we were probably giving it credit for at the start by what we were talking about. And what do you think about Galway? Could Galway go and do a job this year? Because, look, I know it's only 1 game, but if they continue to build on that, as you said, there's no reason that they couldn't get to a final, and then in a final, sure, anybody's game.
I don't see any reason why they can't, simply with the quality they have in the forward line. Like, Shane Walsh and Comer on any given day could take out against anyone, which gives them a fighting chance against all opposition. You've Killian McDee coming back, you've Matty Tierney flying. And then you've also got the fact that the boys who played throughout the league have got experience against top level teams, so they're now on the bench and they're now relatively strong in terms of they've played, they're confident enough at that level. So they've strengthened their squad, and yeah, it's obviously very hard to judge now. I'd probably be able to say more after the 3 group games as to where exactly they're at. But
hopefully we'll still be here if we get a few guests. What about Kerry? Why is there such a lull around Kerry? Why is nobody talking about them? Why is everybody just saying, Kerry are where they are? We don't really know what to expect of them. Like, they're still Kerry, like.
They're still Kerry, 100%. Like, I just think because they haven't really been tested, they've kind of gone under the radar. If they were playing maybe a Dublin or something, there was a bigger game there'd be more attention on them. You'd be seeing where they're really at. But I think just with the opposition that they've been playing against, or they're ahead of them, they haven't been playing too many like massively strong teams that would be realistically competing. So I think it was just kind of went under the radar a wee bit, like.
But they absolutely battered Monaghan.
Yeah.
I know they're at home and it's a long journey and Monaghan are having a poor year, but like, I know they kind of let Monaghan back into it in the second half, but what else do they have to do? They're beating who's put in front of them.
What's it? They'll be happy enough for that. Then they're taking along nicely.
I think the main reason is Clifford probably hasn't hit the heights that he's hit in other years, and everyone knows if Kerry's going to win in All Ireland, Clifford probably has to kick the lights out and put in a few serious performances. So probably, and let's be honest, the whole hype over Kerry over the last 3 years has been simply because of David Clifford. So I do think he's going to notch it up a level when he plays the better teams. He always does. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, you just can't judge in these games. Yeah, they're getting over the line.
I don't know if it is all that. Like, I know that's tongue in cheek. Like, it's hype around Clifford. It is hype around Clifford, but there are a number of kind of co-stars there that chime in from time to time and have been playing really well. Like, Paddy was going quite well. He went very well last year, and then the start of this year maybe he's dropped off slightly in recent weeks, but like he's still been quite good. Like,
I'm not even saying I agree with that.
Yeah.
Is why Kerry's not being hyped up. Like them boys, Sean O'Shea and Paddy Clifford have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But they just don't get the recognition or the hype that David Clifford does. So I just think that's why it hasn't been talked about as much. But not to say them boys aren't flying.
I get
and
you.
Kerry aren't going well.
I get you. And like, is it a benefit that they haven't been tested yet, or do you think it's a negative?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I think.
But physically, is it a benefit?
From a freshness standpoint, that's what I was going to say. I think from a freshness standpoint, they're getting through these games, they're winning. Probably not massively exerting themselves compared to maybe like a tight battle. Yes, but then, you know, are you going to be at the sharpest that you absolutely can be whenever you do come up against a so-called better team? I think you can see. Yeah.
You know, you learn a lot against better teams. Like, but then when you think about, I was just thinking there about like man-to-man battles, and their defenders probably haven't got that kind of exposure to.
Yeah.
But then they're getting it against Clifford in training.
You're marking Clifford, Paddy, Sean O'Shea,
Tony Brosnan. You know, their forwards like training. They're getting that exposure every single night of the week. So I don't know. It's hard to judge.
Those training matches might be better to watch than some of these round robin games.
I'd say they'd be phenomenal to watch.
Yeah.
We'll head down. We'll try and get them on. We can't get on the podcast, but we'll try and get
Clarny some spot there.
Fans up around the pitch, lad.
What would be an ideal run-in then as a ramp up in terms of levels towards the final? Who would be? Are we saying that Dublin are the top level, a Dublin or a Derry or a Galway for a final?
I think there's just a load of teams around the same level.
Yeah.
I
think Dublin are. I think if you go on current form at the minute, Dublin are at the top. I think Donegal is going to be a very good test for anyone.
Yeah.
They're in kind of a second tier.
Second. Yeah. I do think, Dublin, maybe Donegal. And then I think it's very mixed in that next tier. Like, I think there's Derry, Galway, Armagh, possibly. Yeah. I don't know, but it's
probably tiny wee bit below. But like, I still think they'll put it up to anyone. Kerry, obviously.
But it's mad you're even Kerry.
So you're putting Kerry below Donegal in terms of like a power rankings.
I was just about to say there. I think it's mad that you're even saying that. Do you know what I mean?
It's impossible to know.
You can't tell because of what you haven't seen.
That's what we're here for, Dara.
Yeah.
People listen to it for some reason.
I know exactly.
Every week, apparently. So then we might as well segue into some Tailteann Cup chat because the man himself is back. Well, how's it feel?
You start?
No, I didn't start. No, not at that stage yet.
Quite understated, like.
What?
You're quite understated, like you're keeping a level head, like.
Tipping away.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
He's not allowed to speak to me.
It was weird, probably getting back in the pitch. But as soon as you get back in the pitch, within like 10, it just felt like I hadn't been away. If you know what I mean, in my head.
Yeah.
Because you've just like obviously played a right few games in the last 5 or 6 years, so you just kind of know the ins and outs of it, and you're going on and you're just trying to dog it out, and that's what it was. And then getting the end of a score, which was good to be back in the score sheet, and actually it was a tight game, like it was a dogfight come the end. We found ourselves in a dogfight because of our kicking in the first half. Like we weren't putting the shots away. Like it wasn't really pot shots or anything. It just was poor execution probably on our part, and we kind of knew that, and that just against any team that'll just keep them in the game. But yeah, it's the thing that I'm most pleased about at the minute is that I'm actually feeling good on the pitch. Whereas the last time I was here 2 weeks ago, it wasn't the case. I was in bad old form.
You weren't feeling good in here either afterwards.
The hamstring was in bother, but I'm actually delighted, to be honest, that it's really tamed down. I haven't felt it at all. I'm feeling sharp in the pitch, so
drive today. Put you back.
It actually, it's weird. Like it's completely tamed down. Like I haven't felt.
What have you done? Anything differently, or just really managed the load?
Just in that 2 week period, that first Tailteann Cup game, obviously it didn't come on, and that just brought load down. If you get me, so that whole week was bringing load down. Probably 2 or 3 sessions were like 5K. Completely avoided all hinge work for 2 or 3 weeks in terms of like aggravating it in any way, and just focused on getting the hips moving well. And I did isos for that 2 week period where it was really sore, but once it started to get better, I was getting like hamstring DOMs from I was just trying to get activation of the hamstrings and get them working, and that seemed to really offload it. So I just stopped isos then because I wasn't getting any sensation there. So I was like, I'm not like fatiguing. I felt like it was fatiguing my hamstrings a wee bit and making me have small bits of DOMs in the session, just avoided it, and then it's just the hamstrings are still a wee bit like sore in sessions, but it's not the tendon, which is good. So
It was just maybe a fatigue thing as well. It
was just a complete
need to get
spike in load
fresh.
for 2 weeks.
I found that one of the first times my Achilles flared up, like I went on holidays for a week and didn't do any lower body loading, and I felt amazing. Didn't have any issues the rest of the year. I know you can't.
In that acute phase, I think that's
when it's acute, but if it's obviously there's that
chronic. Then.
if you're telling anyone here, just take a week off. That's probably the issue. Is here, take a week off.
But everyone's different.
Great, and then come back in.
Everyone responds different to different situations. That's why even when you go to the best of any field, like even they can't just tell you exactly
this is the blueprint.
This is what you should do, because
there's a number of variables though, but vitamin D as well, if you were away on holidays, would have played a huge role, as well as a reduction in terms of like your stress probably, because you're on a screen morning, noon and night, like coaching, and then trying to turn up and and play. It's tough slog. If you had to tune up anything, or if anything was slightly off for you on the field in your return, what would it be? Was timing off, communication, like positioning, or was it like a tactical or a technical execution of skills? Or were you happy with where everything's at?
I was happy with the skills side of things. Handling, kicking, like I caught a kick out at the end when we were under pressure, a long kick out. So it felt good to be back doing that. I thought that might have been something where the timing would have been a wee bit off and it would have been a bit rusty, but probably the tactical side of things and getting into the right positions, going back the ways, going forwards.
Usually.
Going backwards.
Probably just more time,
More exposure.
More exposure will improve that side of things.
And like, it's not that you're out of the loop in terms of what you're doing tactically. So there's nothing more that you can do from that standpoint in terms of video, is there? It's just really just getting exposure to the scenarios.
Just exposure to it, yeah. Like you can look at as much video as you want, but until you're in that environment and everything's chaotic all around you, like you're not going to probably be able to nail it, and without that.
Did you ask any of your teammates if they're looking for anything different from you, or how you can improve, or any of the coaches even? Not
really. You have that conversation probably just before you're about to come on in terms of what is it you want me to do here.
And did you get the green light in terms of you were successful?
Oh yeah. There wasn't because we won. I got a wee touch in the video now. Positive and negative. But no, like you just go on. I suppose your role. My role was to come on and
change the game.
Just check the lights out, hit pot shots. No, just I suppose get back when you need to get back, get up the pitch. Just put in. Like I was only on for 15 minutes, but just literally empty the tank.
How do you feel coming on? See, anytime I found coming on and you're going right the 15 minutes, just empty the tank here. How do you feel getting up the pace of the game when you're coming off the bench?
I'd be just sprinting up and down the sideline trying to get, you know what I mean? Like
just
trying to mimic that before you go onto the pitch, and then baiting Lucas Aid Sport into me, just so I'm, feeling like a bit of adrenaline. I'm up a level before I even come onto the pitch. But I have found that before in the past. I remember in my first year in the county, I remember coming on in a few games. I would have been coming off the bench most times. Like I wouldn't have started any games that year, and like I felt like I played 60 minutes to come on. I was just completely gassed every time, and you're coming on to try and give fresh legs. But I think at that age too, you haven't built up that level of intensity and conditioning. It just takes time to get that as well. So felt a wee bit more comfortable coming on. I suppose to come on off the bench twice this year, yeah. So kind of get better at it, I think. It
was an away trip as well, so did you have a drink afterwards?
We did, but we sat for a 3-hour bus journey on the way back before we could get that. Last Saturday.
No beers on the bus?
No, we tried, but wasn't allowed. Bus driver wouldn't let us.
Fuck.
I know.
That's no crack.
Absolutely gutted. Probably stood us in good stead though. We were drinking bottles of water the whole way down the road.
It's probably why your hamstring isn't at you.
Yeah, we were in a better position to have a few pints then. So yeah, it was a long journey home. 3.5, 4 hours. Like, didn't stop once.
Wow. You wouldn't want to be drinking, so.
Thankful.
One toilet on the bus, was there?
There was one toilet and it was blocked.
They're always blocked.
That would have been a complete handling. Like, when I think about it now.
That's probably why I didn't.
Yeah, I think we went down to Limerick. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, on our last league game, and bus back up the road. Bus driver let the boys drink, and
thought it wasn't working.
It was the place was just wrecked. Like, so I think it was the same company.
I know how to get these from Hey, tramps.
Wouldn't let you boys drink in the
No,
most.
no etiquette.
No way.
No etiquette.
The seats be getting ripped off.
Well, you're probably looking over enviably at Dara there because unfortunately your season is over.
Aye. It's annoying. Like, even watching sort of in his game there at the weekend, like, I was just sort of, sun was out and they were playing. You're going, fuck's sake. But honestly, I think it hasn't hit me as hard because I probably knew in my head it was coming at some stage. Even with the chats after the Down game, like, I haven't been running, I haven't been training since the Down game, which is maybe 6 weeks ago now. Like, chatting the physios where I've been over the last couple of years, up and down. I just kind of knew that at some stage I was going to need to take an extended period of time, which I've tried to do as well. Last year I took from August to December to try and get it right, and then as soon as I came back in again and the load went up, it's just too much again. So it was looking like it was going to be a long rehab job anyway. Like, so yeah, obviously looking at surgery and stuff too. Speaking to the surgeons, he was like, "This is a pretty straightforward job, like procedure." Chatting
That's
to field, good, 100%. And I think I just wanted that bit of clarity too, like, because I've been through the same thing over and over again, and not really, like, you get back to the point, you feel great, but then when you're pushing to that level or like trying to operate at that level, like, you're going to break down at some stage, like, if everything's not in working order, like. And he showed me the MRI the other day, and I was just like, right, I can even see that, like. And I've never read an MRI in my life before, and he's like, see this bit here? I was like, what's this white bit here? That doesn't look too good. He's like, yeah, that's for your tendons off the bone, like. I was like, right,
Actually?
good. Slightly, there's like a bit of a gap there, like, yeah, and it still hasn't healed. And I was chatting to the physio at the weekend there. I have to do like a bit of a report or background thing to sort of get the surgery cleared, like. And he was chatting about it and he was going through the history of it, and I was like, I remember 2021 club championship, felt like a pop in it, but didn't get a scan or anything. Outputs were good, strength was good, so was back a couple of weeks later. And then I actually remember mechanical, only remembered at the weekend against Cavan. Last season I felt a wee bit of a pop in it again. So I completely forgot about that. I just thought it was a flare up, like.
Rice Krispies over here, he's not crackling pop.
I'd let you so yeah, that's the crack anyway.
What does the next month or so look like then for you in preparation for the surgery? Because you're still keeping some sort of loading in there so that you don't have too much atrophy.
Exactly, just keeping it as high as possible and trying to push things as much as possible now, like. Plenty of, I suppose, hypertrophy type work.
Sure, you're doing that anyway.
Fucking huge.
You're meant to be doing your hamstring, lad, not your arms.
Yeah, like, so that's, I have the chat with, I'm actually going to see Alice on Friday, and then chat with JC, our physio, as well, just get a bit of a plan in place. But just plenty of hamstring work, get them as strong as possible, build a good bit of muscle there on them. Keep them well conditioned, even just get out running, sprinting. Probably not be able to do too much sprinting because that's where the pain obviously comes on, but even if I just get out doing a bit of distance running, just building up a bit of load there so that even the rest of the body is still accustomed to feeling those sort of forces, rather than, surgery, say August time, back January, February time, and maybe I don't start running until maybe October, November, December, maybe. Like, if I'm going from now to then without doing any running, like, the whole body's going to feel that rather than just the hamstring, like. So try and do as much as I can between now and then, like.
What's the expected layoff, like,
so
in terms of like now to return to play? Is there like
either way I was going to be looking at next season, so targeting January, February next year, like.
Is any aspect of it frustrating, or well, it's more than frustrating, but annoying that you're actually in good shape when you're training?
Yeah, that's the hardest part, because I'm sitting there and I'm going, I know that if I could go and play a game, or I can go through the pain. Yes, there's going to be pain, it's going to be sore. The most frustrating part is the ups and downs. Like if, do you know, the hardest thing is probably going to be the club, and they're kind of going, oh, sure, you're getting surgery anyway, come on, play a few games. Like, and I'm kind of going, and I've been going, no, I need to just get it right. And then I was down watching the club game yesterday, and I was going, I'd love to be playing here. Like, I'd love to come on. And then I start going, I could have played 15, 20 minutes here or there. And then it's just, actually, I spoke to Conor Mailer about it too, like, the other day, and he just saw him in the gym, and he was saying he's tried to be there, tried to be the hero, like. And it's just, there's times you just need to put yourself first.
It
And
goes back to what Matty Donnelly was saying about you're being judged on
if you're,
as if you're 100% in the pitch. And I fell into that bracket last year where I was just pushing and pushing and listening to people, and you should play. I can play. Of course you can play, like.
Yeah.
But I'm operating at 70-80% and I'm doing absolutely nobody any favours.
Yeah.
But also, there's a tear in your hamstring tendon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the main.
Like, there's no way I would be letting you play if I do that.
That's the thing.
So, and because it's gone on so long, that's where the surgery's coming from. Like, he looked at it, he's like, you've been doing this for so long now. The tear's been there a couple of years. It's not going to get any better just by sort of rehabbing it and leaving it. It's like, stitch it back up.
Like, having spoken to athletes who have had careers ended by hamstrings being torn off the bone, the risk is not worth the reward of playing a few club games. And best case scenario is winning a club title, like, which would be great.
Yeah.
But you would have to do that playing at 78%.
Yeah. And the date I'm looking at for the surgery, I would probably play 2 club games and then be out again anyway. So I was like, I can't come in, play a couple of games and then be out again. It would see if I played a couple of group games and then they get through to the knockout stages and it was break your heart. Like, I can make it even worse. I can make it harder. Like,
Snooker or darts or something.
What about golf? I was thinking golf, but
you'd be cat though.
I'd be shocking. But see, to be fair, see the way
Fair play,
I hold a hurling cack-handed anyway. Like, so.
Do you?
Yeah. But
You're
golf,
well set up for it.
I have no patience for golf. Like, I went to the driving range and after 5 balls, I'm like, nah, get me a shoulders hanging out of the socket.
Driving range is f***ing monotonous. Like, it's shite. Far better going to a course.
Yeah.
Even if
you don't,
shite,
like,
it's good crack.
my dad says, you don't play driving range, you play golf.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get better at golf, you have to go
play
golf.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that is frustrating. Like,
Right, might give it a go yet. I'm flat out in the watt bike. I might get a proper bike and get out in the road. Do a bit of running, get massive.
Getting out on the bike would be good.
Yeah.
Throughout the summer, like, and the weather's good. Go for a cycle from down to Fermanagh.
be less than
How do we go down there?
It is good. It's a
Down
lovely
the
spot.
M1.
Cycle of the podcast.
We may have a surprise coming in the coming weeks in relation to a golf opportunity that we were toying with the idea of doing, but it's yet to be seen. We have to get some guests in first.
Yeah.
But we have some guests scheduled in, so hopefully we can follow through with these guests. And we better say as well, we won't fault guests for not wanting to come on the podcast.
I know, it sounds like we're having a pop at them. We do understand it, but at the same time, get the finger out. Like.
It's more, it's more like the disappointing thing for us and the anxiety-inducing thing and the stress-inducing thing is when we've booked it in and we're like, yes, sorted, tick the box, we're done, and then they cancel. Whereas so many guests have said, nah, I'm not looking to do it, and then we're usually like,
cheers,
grand, no worries, 100%.
It's just that, it's too close at times when they are pulling out. Probably getting a conversation in terms of whether this week's result is going to dictate your decision. If it is, then let us know.
Do you think we should be doing that? I know this is a meeting out loud here.
We should now. Insanity's doing the same thing over and over again.
I suppose it's worthwhile saying, like.
Well, myself and yourself have a couple of messages to send then.
Yeah.
But I think we're going in the right direction. I think like all the feedback we're getting is fantastic. And we're going well ourselves with these conversations. People are still listening.
We have had plenty saying that they'd be happy to chat when the season's done, like, which you can understand too. So when players are trying to get the absolute most out of it, they just want that single focus and they might see it as a distraction and stuff too. Like, so you can understand as well. But I think from a personal, don't
expect Croke Park to be sold out then for Dublin against Roscommon if you're not willing to have a conversation for fans to listen to.
Plus the other side of this, McGurn's going to reshare the post and you're probably going to get about 500 extra Instagram followers from it, so it's worth it. Like,
but that's building personal brand. Then you have more leverage going for any sort of sponsorships you're looking, or like a lot of athletes do, any charity like events you're doing or anything, you'll be able to advertise it to more people, because there are a number of players that leverage their personal brand in that bracket more so than in the bracket of social media, in the bracket of marketing and advertising, and there's some that do both. So I don't think there's any drawback to building a personal brand really, other than some fella down the pub is going to say to you, are you not off making TikToks? Or some fella on the side of the field.
They're not even.
They're not
even. That's complete
unless they're from down. Throwing on under the bus here. But that's us for another week. and we do have some guests scheduled in. We don't know if they're going to show up.
We're going on the road, aren't we?
We're going on the road,
We're
yeah.
going on, we have a couple of road trips coming up. I'm
We
looking
do.
forward to it.
And
We'll
we
book
may have
Book a gaff.
a trip abroad as well as the other thing.
Potentially.
So
Potentially.
we'll see. But thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Backdoor Cut. We will be back at some stage. We don't know when it'll be, but it'll be as soon as we can put it together. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again next week or the week after.